Baked boar's head was the centerpiece of a traditional medieval Christmas. By the Victorian period, boar's head had long since fallen out of favour. But an interesting twist on this medieval tradition crops up in a recipe book from 1862, written by chef to Queen Victoria, Charles Elmé Francatelli, the Imitation boar's head. We're going to go through Francatelli's enormously complicated recipe, step by step. Welcome to the Historic Kitchens here at Kew Palace. My name's Isaac and I'm a member of the Historic Kitchens team. I can't do this ginormous recipe by myself. I'm going to need a team. Luckily, I've already got my colleagues on the case. The first thing we're going to make is some ice cream. So I'm going to go and see Natalie and see how she's getting on.
Hi Isaac.
So we need ice cream for our boar's head recipe. How did they make ice cream in 1862?
Well, I'm making strawberry ice cream today. So the first thing I'm going to do is mush up these strawberries into a bowl, and I'm trying to get the juice out of them. Push it down, and the best thing to use is sort of the back of a spoon. Just squish it all in.
Boar's head recipe calls for two types of ice cream. It says a red ice cream and a white ice cream to mimic the flesh and fat of the boar, or the inside of the boar. So obviously we're having strawberry as our red or pink ice cream, and then we're going to be using vanilla ice cream as our second, our white ice cream. It's just cream, sugar, and our fruit here.
As you can see, I've mushed up all the strawberries now, and it's turned into a lovely juice, which we'll be using in a bit.
This is a sorbetier. This is a late 19th century, early 20th century one. It's an ice cream maker. How a sorbetier works is we've got our wooden tub, which holds our ice, and Natalie's going to add some salt in as well. And what the salt does is it lowers the melting temperature of the ice. And inside that, we've got a metal cylinder, a metal container, which we'll have in our cream, sugar, and our strawberry puree. Inside that is a central shaft with some wooden paddles on, that when we attach the mechanism on top, we'll turn the handle and the paddles inside will churn the ice cream. And as it cools down, it will freeze.
And here we've got some cream, sugar, and we have our lovely strawberry mixture. So it doesn't really matter what order it goes in, as long as it all goes in.
So for a pint of ice cream, we need 12 ounces of sugar, which seems like an awful lot, but once it's frozen, you don't really taste the sweetness, so it's all fine.
Put on the handle, lock it in. So you have to churn for about 15 minutes, and it's always good to check every 5 minutes just to see how thick it is.
Brilliant, well thank you Natalie. I'll leave you to the hard manual labour, and I'll go and see what's next.
You can see it's lovely and thick. Delicious. So this is now ready to go into the freezer, as it needs to freeze a little bit longer, and then we're going to put that into the cake.
So the bulk of the boar's head is made from sponges, and Anya, that's your job today, isn't it, making these sponges?
Yes, I'm making the Savoy biscuit.
Biscuit?
It's not a biscuit, it's an unleavened cake. So we're not adding a raising agent like baking powder. The raise of the cake comes from creaming the egg yolks and then whisking the egg whites and incorporating it with the flour.
That's really interesting actually, because Francatelli in the recipe does use the words cake and biscuit interchangeably when referring to these sponges.
Yeah, well, it is technically a cake and a biscuit.
Wow.
Add the sugar to the egg yolks, beat them until they're creamed. Whisk up the egg whites until they form stiff peaks. So I think the egg whites are done. Should we try tipping it over your head and see if it sticks in the bowl?
Okay then.
Done. We are now going to add the vanilla to the egg yolks.
A vanilla pod.
Scrape all of the seeds out. Mix
Yep.
to incorporate all of the vanilla in. Incorporate the egg whites and the flour into the egg yolks and sugar. I'm gently folding in the flour. Francatelli recommends to add the flour and egg whites gradually to the egg yolks. Now that the cake batter is ready, I'm going to add it to the tins ready for the oven.
We don't have an exact time for how long to cook this for?
We'll have to give it around 40 minutes, and then I'm going to poke it with a skewer, and if it comes out clean, the cake is done.
Fantastic. I'll see you later.
Bye.
God, I feel exhausted. Fancy a cup of tea.
Next step is to make the boar's head. So we're going to shape it by stacking the cakes and then carving it. Start by stacking the 2 square sponges, and then I'm using the corner as the boar's nose.
Oh, nice. That's very clever. Yeah. Francatelli, he gives lots of detailed instructions about some really random things. And then when it comes to the carving of the boar's head, arguably the most important part of this recipe, he says, carve it in the shape of a wild boar's head.
I've just started to make use of the corner as the snout, and this is the jaw here, so I'm actually going to wedge some cake in there to create the mouth shape. You don't want to cut off too much too soon, because once it's gone, it's gone. I'm making the chocolate icing, which is going to act as the skin for the boar's head. I have already melted some chocolate, and then I need to make a sugar syrup. So to do that, I'm going to add water and sugar to this copper pan. In goes the water, 2 parts of sugar to 1 part of water.
So Francatelli actually specifies the type of chocolate that should be used in this recipe. He calls for 3 cakes of French chocolate, and he actually tells us which shop we should be buying our chocolate from.
So I'm going to check now and see if it's at the thread stage. I'm looking for if it forms a thread between my fingers, and it looks like it's ready now. The next step is to add the melted chocolate. Mix it up until it reaches a nice syrupy consistency. And that will be perfect to put on the boar's head.
In order to make our boar's head a spectacular centerpiece, we need some details, some additions to really make our boar come to life. So I'm going to, as Francatelli says, imitate the boar's tusks and defences in gum paste. So we're going to make that now. The main ingredient in our gum paste is this. This is gum tragacanth, or as it's written in the recipe, gum dragon. It's dried sap from trees. It comes from the Middle East, and we have been using this in this country since the medieval period. You can use the resin whole like this and soak it overnight, or you can do what I've done, which is grind it up really small, and it works so much quicker. Put a couple of teaspoons of this ground gum into a bowl. You don't need that much. To the gum, I'm going to add, to speed up the process, some hot water that I've got here. I'm going to keep adding liquid until it reaches a jelly-like consistency. It's really surprising how much liquid it absorbs. That is about ready now. It's nice and wobbly to add to our icing sugar or powdered sugar. This is very similar to fondant icing that you can get in the shops. And actually, if you want to fortify your fondant icing, if you want to strengthen it to make decorations like we're making here, you can just add some gum tragacanth to your fondant icing. So I'm going to knead this together, which will take about 5 minutes. And we can now work with this to make our tusks, some teeth. We're also going to make some eyes and a couple of ears as well. Add some detailing to my tusks so they look worn. Francatelli in his recipe says that you should lay the eyes over marbles to dry. I haven't got any marbles, so instead I'm going to be using these are chocolate moulds, and I'll be laying the eyes on top of that. And now with my circles, I'm just going to lay them on top of the mould. Some icing when we come to put the eyes on the boar. Once my eyeballs are dry, I'm going to paint them with some edible paints so they look like real eyeballs. Right, team, we've all done our component parts. It's now time to assemble the boar.
The first step is to add apricot jam to the layers of cake. Add red currant jelly to the outside of the cake.
Is there any reason why the outside is a different colour to the inside colour jam?
Yes, so the chocolate icing that Anya made is transparent. So the red currant jelly will show through and look like the baked skin of a boar.
Nice.
Yeah. Very tasty. So this is our chocolate icing from earlier.
I'm now going to pour it over the boar's head.
Are these the decorations you made earlier?
Yes, they are, yes. So we've got some ears, we've got our tusks from earlier, extra little teeth, and we've got these eyes. So we made the eyes earlier and we set them on the chocolate moulds to dry. They dried and I painted some eyes on them, and then covered them with sugar. And Francatelli says you should do this to add expression to the boar. Now, my sugar coating has got a bit cloudy, so I think maybe my boar has cataracts or some sort of eyesight problem. But I do think it sort of does add a shine and a bit of...
Yeah, that one looks great.
Yeah, a bit of life to them. There we go.
Nice.
And then we'll put some more chocolate icing around to create the eyelids and the eye socket for the eye to sit in, so it doesn't look quite as terrifying. We've got this great picture of Queen Victoria's Christmas sideboard from 1888. On that sideboard is a baked boar's head, and we're going to make this boar look like that photograph. We put some wooden dowel inside these tusks just so they can go into the cake. There we go.
Now it's time for my ice cream.
Oh yes, your ice cream, how did it go?
Yeah, really well. You can see here that I've got the vanilla and the strawberry, and I've mixed them both together.
That's fantastic, that looks really good.
Thanks.
Francatelli's recipe says that we have to hollow out the throat of the boar to receive the ice. It's another really crucial step of the recipe where there is an enormous amount of vagueness. But oh look, that's fantastic. That's worked really well, that, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's got a bit of a dip, bit of a hole.
It's quite medieval, really, isn't it? We've been talking throughout this series about subtleties and illusion foods, foods that look like other foods. And here is a Victorian subtlety. Our ice cream's melting, that means we've got to move quickly. So we've got to get this on our stand, we've got to decorate it so it looks like that photograph. The Boar's Head Carol from the 16th century says that a boar's head in hand bare eye, bedecked with bay and rosemary, or rosemary. So we have some bay and rosemary, and we're going to make this boar look like it's coming out of a little hedge, like it's hiding. That sounds sweet, isn't it? Should we get started?
Yeah.
I'm feeling really proud of this. I think it's fantastic. I think we've really managed to capture the sort of blind panic of that boar in that photograph from Queen Victoria's sideboard.
It has taken many hard hours of work to get it looking like this.
I think we should taste it.
Definitely. It's very sweet. I can taste the jam and the sponge.
I think my favourite bit is the ice cream. I think just that strawberry flavour from those fresh strawberries is so rich and intense. It's just incredible.
Chocolate layer is nice. It's nice and crunchy. It's not too strong on the chocolate, and it mixes well with the other flavours.
Well, I think we've done an excellent job. I think Francatelli would be very proud of us.
It looks like the boar from the picture as well.
It does look like the boar from the picture as well. Queen Victoria would be very proud of us.
I agree.
Yeah. Details of the recipe are in the description down below, and please let us know if you decide to give this mammoth recipe a go.
Good luck.